Morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on our monthly journey of our tech stack. And today we're talking all things Chaser. So on the call again, we've got lovely Patrick, and Molly from Chaser is here to join us as well to deep dive into the product and give us a very good overview of how it works and how it will be really effective for your business. So I'd like to hand over to Patrick, who will explain how we use Chaser in our client services.
Hi there, yeah, I'm Patrick Levy. I work with guys here at Farnell Clarke to improve businesses and improve performance. We do a lot of management accounts, cash management, and I work as a virtual CFO for people. And in the cash management, we use Chaser a lot. So we're big fans of Chaser, and it serves as a really good touch point. It's almost like a CRM for chasing your customers. So it's a really good opportunity to work with the clients, and so I'm all the time back and forth about who's being chased for what and who responded to what and how we're doing and how the money's coming back in. It's very customizable, and but you don't want me to talk about it. We want Molly O'Byrne from Chaser we've got here, so I'll hand over and she'll take you through how the product works.
Fab, thank you. So yeah, I'm Molly and I am the marketing manager here at Chaser, and just want to say thanks to the guys at Farnell Clarke for having me on today. Really excited to give you all a more in-depth look at the product and how it can work for you guys. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, if that will work. I think that should be okay. Can you guys see that? Yeah, perfect. Cool. So this is the Chase feed, which is kind of like the homepage of Chaser, and it's where you'll be able to see all of the most recent activity, which you can see here, any notes, any kind of starting, pausing, all of that, which I'll go into in more detail in a little bit. And you can also see what is going to be chased in the upcoming chase here, the time of the upcoming chase, and if anything is unchaseable that needs actions before that chase, you can see that here as well. And then the last scheduled chase, any activity that was there, so paid, unopened, and bounced. So from there, we go into settings, which is what kind of the lifeblood of Chaser, and is really where you can customize it completely and make sure that all of your customers essentially aren't aware that they're being chased by an automated system. So you can see here, this is the general settings, and it's where you can set up customer statements. You can add in your logo, your contact details, and any payment terms that you want to appear on the top of that as well. And templates are really kind of the core pillar of Chaser. And essentially it comes preloaded with 8 best practice templates, and you can add as many as you want as well. But if we just take a quick look at an example here, you can see this is an early overdue template, and it really takes the manual work out of writing chasing emails. So they're completely customizable for your usual correspondence and linguistic style, and they're made up of 2 parts. So we've got the repeatable prose here. So for example, we have yet to receive payment from yourselves of, and then you've got a placeholder here. And this is the information that will be pulled from your cloud accounting system. So it will always be customer and invoice specific. So for example, amount owed, reference number, recipient first name, due date, all of that kind of information. And as I said, you can have as many templates as you wish. So if we take a look at this one, here's the early overdue. So it's quite kind of nicely worded, just a little nudge in the right direction. Whereas if we look at the late overdue, you can see here, this invoice is now X days overdue and is becoming really problematic for us. Please could you let us know when payment will be made as a matter of urgency. So again, completely customizable for how you would usually speak to your customers, but it is helpful if you escalate the severity of the kind of wording that you're using to make customers really sit up and take notice. And the last thing you want is to send out an email requesting payment for an invoice, and a week goes by before the customer comes back and says, yes, I'd love to pay, but I need a copy invoice to make payment. So to mitigate this, Chaser actually allows you to attach the copy invoice from the outset, and also a customer statement, and that invoice will be pulled directly through from your cloud accounting system. So these templates are then plugged into schedules, and they're sent out in the selected frequency until the invoice is paid. So again, similar to the templates, you can use just one schedule and set up the chasing days as you wish, or you can segment customers based on whatever criteria you like, such as good payers or bad payers, or different payment terms days. So for example, bad payers, you might want to chase more frequently. So if we click into our bad payers schedule here, you can see they've got quite a few reminders before the invoice actually becomes overdue. And then you've got reminders at 7, 14, 21, 28, and 29 days overdue, each with a different action and template. So these are the templates here. So you've got before overdue, medium overdue, late overdue, and then legal action. So that is kind of the last case scenario. And if we compare that to the good payers template, you can see here that it's a lot less frequent and a lot, the escalation in the kind of templates is a lot more gradual. And there's some further features within here that I'd like to highlight, which really showcase the kind of automated humanity. And the first of these is escalated senders. So for those harder to reach clients or really late overdue invoices, you might want to escalate the sender email address. So after the number of days that you choose, so for example, it might be sooner for bad payers, you can have the emails appear to come from a more senior person within the company. Or in the case of Farnell Clarke, if you were going down the outsourced route, you could actually have that email appear to come from someone within Farnell Clarke to really make them sit up and take notice, which can have a huge impact. And maintaining good customer relationships, we know, is extremely important for our users, especially when it comes to credit control, which can be quite a touchy subject for some customers and for some companies. So we've included an automatic thanks for paying feature. So this will automatically be sent to customers who pay an invoice within 24 hours. And I know the guys at Farnell Clarke can probably attest to this, but I mean, we've had people reporting that they've been thanked for thanking someone to pay an invoice, and they kind of end up in this cycle of thank you, which, you know, it's a good problem to have.
I think that was you, Rebecca, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I've got to say, I am a really big fan of that, actually. It adds a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, I suppose, services again, isn't it? That it's a bit of a faux pas. No one really wants to talk about it, do they? No one wants to be impolite and chase debts and say, oh, actually, I do sort of have a little bit of a problem. So yeah, the most professional way, I suppose, and the easiest way for all parties. So yeah. We do like that feature.
And I guess one of the things that potentially could fall by the wayside once you get the money in, it's something people want to do, but you've now got the money, so it's not always at the top of your priority list. So yeah, we really like that feature as well. And I guess another part of maintaining those positive relationships is not bombarding your customers with loads of emails for loads of different invoices all at the same time. As aside from being annoying, it would also be a telltale sign of automation, which is what we are trying to avoid.
Yeah, no, that is a key feature, having those grouped messages.
Yeah, so I'll just
we had someone just start with the service recently, and they were like, no, I don't want to do it because it's going to spam people. And as soon as they saw that, they were like, oh, fine, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So what this does is if there's multiple invoices overdue for the same customer and they're all past the due date, it will automatically group them together. So you can see here this little table here, which is, you know, quite easy to read. And it also, I guess, makes it easy to see what do I actually need to pay. Because, you know, if you receive 3-4 invoices at a time, it can be quite confusing as to, okay, but which one do you want me to pay? And then too often it results in actually them not paying any of them. And so all of the individual PDFs will also be attached to that email for their reference as well. And the last thing we want is your chasers going out when you haven't done a bank reconciliation or on weekends or public holidays or anything like that. As again, and that will be another telltale sign of automation. So Chaser is set up so that it only chases on a particular day at a particular time. So for example, if you know that bank reconciliation will be done at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, for example, you can set your chasers to go out at 11 a.m. on that same day. You can also choose multiple days to chase on, but we actually find that it has the best results if you just do it once a week, because you can be kind of sure that all of your people who have paid are up to date and that you're not going to be chasing anyone who's paid and potentially impacting that relationship. And we also know that emails from clearly automated or third-party email addresses tend to go unopened. And that is another kind of, I'm sure you guys have come up against it, people worrying that it will look as if it's come from an automated system. So the way Chaser is set up is that it will reflect your regular email address and your regular email signature. So I can show you an example here. We've got a lot of users on this organization, as you can see. But if I click into David here, who is actually the founder and CEO of Chaser, you can see here, first name, last name, email address, and you'll have to verify that with your own, and any kind of email signature, any logos or awards, links, anything that you would usually be in your email signature, you can input here. So the idea being that every Chaser that your customers receive look exactly like an email that you would send them. We also have a forewarn feature, which you can see here, which means that within the 24 hours before a set of Chasers are due to be sent, so every week, you will also receive a summary email detailing exactly which customers are going to get which Chasers, so that if you do, you can take a look at that. If you do see anything that looks amiss, you can simply kind of jump into Chaser, rectify it, and if you can't figure it out, you can click pause Chaser, which is just up here, and you can decide to either resume that on a specific date, or you can actually pause it indefinitely.
Yeah, that's a really, really useful feature, because when we are doing the credit control on behalf of clients, sometimes you don't know some of the really, really fine details. So just having that review and just having a double check and just saying, you sure that you should be chasing these guys? You know, they you know, we had a communication with them last week, and then you take it out. So it really helps.
Yeah, definitely. And so this is kind of the core settings, as I said, and we have found that invoices are successfully chased using email alone about 80% of the time, which is amazing. But for those other 20% where, you know, a follow-up call might be necessary, or you do need to pursue, as I kind of touched on briefly earlier, legal action or anything like that, with traditional methods, this would mean kind of having to go through your email inbox and piece together the conversation that has occurred up until that point. And, you know, there might have been some communication between your accountant, some between you, and it takes so long to try and track down, okay, where is everything, where is this invoice, and what communication has taken place. So if that takes even 15 minutes for, let's say, 10 customers, that's potentially 2.5 hours down the drain. So Chaser actually has a built-in CRM, which I know Patrick touched on briefly earlier, but I'll show you it in action here. And this logs all correspondence, so both inbound and outbound, in chronological order. And you also have the ability to add in notes. So if I show you an example here, this was the first Chaser that was sent in relation to this invoice. And we can see here all of the text, the date and time it was sent, and you can also actually see when it was first opened by the customer and what time. So for example, if kind of Ben was to come back and say, oh, I never got your first email, you can see here, you did get it, and I can see that, and I know what time and date you opened it at. So that can be really handy if you do need to pursue kind of further action. You can see here his reply, I'll get this paid ASAP, and you can see here there was a lot of back and forth between them. Any notes that you want to add in, so for example, call Ben, and I called Ben, he said he'd pay on the 3rd of May. And what you can then do is actually add that in as an expected payment date here, which means that that invoice won't be chased until that date has passed. If it has been reconciled as paid by the time that date passes, nothing more will happen. If it hasn't been, it will automatically resume chasing within the schedule that was left off.
And that date synchronizes with 0, doesn't it?
It does. So if you update that date within Chaser, that will automatically update the expected payment date within 0 as well.
And vice versa, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. So this particular feature is really, really useful, especially if you want to go down the route of outsourcing your credit control to Farnell Clarke, because they can kind of pop in, add in any notes, anything like that, any calls, what was said on the call. But you can also kind of jump in and be aware of everything that is happening with that invoice, with that customer, without actually having to be so deeply involved in the actual invoice chasing. It also means that if you're using Chaser yourself to do your own credit control, if a colleague goes on holiday that usually takes care of one particular account, it means that you can actually hop in there, see everything that's happened, and you can take over, which means that that account doesn't have to kind of fall by the wayside while they're gone. You can take over and you can be completely up to date with any communication that has happened. So that's really handy. And then finally, I just want to kind of note that this CRM does obviously work within the invoice level, but also within the customer level. So you can see the communication based on customer or invoice. And also I'll just quickly jump into reports, which can also be quite a handy feature. You can download all of the information on each invoice and on each customer. And it's really easy to kind of see then, okay, where do I need to action this further? You can see here DVD, so that's the average days to pay versus the due date. So you can see here that's quite a big one. And then the days that it has taken to pay them, the outstanding balance for each invoice and for each customer, any expected payment dates, the next scheduled chase, the last chase that invoice was included in, and also any notes and replies. So this again can be really important if you do need to pursue further action, that you can download almost a report, almost like a script, I guess, of all of the correspondence that has gone on about that invoice and about that customer. So I know I kind of touched on everything quite briefly, but if there's any questions, obviously I'm very happy to answer them. Or if the Farnell, Clarke guys,
the invoices, that section there. To
Yeah.
start with, at the very beginning, when I first started using Chaser, I was like, okay, automated chases, what's all the fuss about? But once I saw this feature, I was sold totally, immediately.
Yeah.
Because, you know, quite often you're piecing together that information from just different sources and, as you said, different people. And it's so important to always have the whole thing going to one email address the whole time.
Because if you miss even one kind of email, they say they did send that email, you can't find any record of it.
Yep, and it's the relationship with your customers.
Exactly,
that's the important thing, and that can be ruined.
Yeah,
definitely, and it's a great user-friendly product as well, especially if this kind of concept, you're a new business owner and it's all completely new to how do I chase my debts, you know, and again, it allows us to provide that next level service to our clients because it's something then that is very transparent and we can all get involved in and help the customer on their business journey. So we have a mixture of providing the service. Some clients just opt for the software and a help with setup, so we can do that, and equally we do provide some clients with a full debt chasing service, something that before Chaser was here we couldn't actually get involved with.
Yeah, I mean, so our average end user sees a time saving of 7.3 hours a week. So if we kind of think of that in terms of if you as Farnell Clarke were to provide that service to their clients in the past, you would have essentially been spending an extra day doing credit control for each client. So we're just so happy that Chaser is here, because it just means that SMEs can actually free up the cash that they're owed, and also accountants like you guys now have a way that they can offer this great service to them.
Yeah, lovely. Well, thank you, Molly, for the deep dive there.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I hope you found this useful. And as always, all of our webinar recordings can be found on our YouTube page. So please follow up with that and you'll see the full webinar there. Thanks again, guys.
Great. Thanks for hosting, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Molly.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.